All right, it's showtime.
I'm gonna see how many things I can give you to edit out.
No, I'm gonna leave in all the embarrassing parts.
Hashtag cute Magenta Otters.
Hello friends, it's Dara from Magenta Otter Travels back in her Texas kitchen again with another installment of my Britain at Home series. Although today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to be cooking a favorite British recipe. I'm going to be making an American recipe and comparing it with a British recipe. So let me explain what's going on. This video is going to have a couple different parts. The first thing I'm going to do is show you how to make Neiman Marcus Popovers. This is a delicious treat and a very fun recipe. And the reason I'm making that is because popovers are similar to Yorkshire puddings. So my last video showed how to make legit British Yorkshire puddings. And since they're similar to popovers, I wanted to see how they're similar, how they're different. So the best way to do that is to make popovers and to taste them side by side. And for that side by side taste test, I will have a special guest. And I'm really excited about that part. So first let's start with making the popovers. 6 large eggs. And please note, these eggs really need to be at room temperature. Most Americans are going to be storing their eggs in the refrigerator. Get your eggs out of the refrigerator several hours in advance so they can come to room temperature before you make the popovers. If you really want to make these turn out great, get a popover pan. I ordered this off of Amazon. I will put the link in the description below. You don't need to preheat the oven yet because one key part of this recipe is letting the batter rest for an hour after you mix it together. So let's get started making the batter. Okay, so we're gonna start with our 3.5 cups of whole milk, put that in a big Pyrex measuring cup like this, and we're gonna put it in the microwave and heat it for 2 minutes on high till the milk is warm, but not boiling. While the milk is heating in the microwave, you can sift together your dry ingredients, the 4 cups of flour, and then the 1.5 teaspoons of salt, and the teaspoon of baking powder. Always nice to have the baking powder go through the sieve anyway, just to make sure there's no lumps. All right, so we have the dry ingredients. We'll just stir those dry ingredients together in this nice pitcher, which is handy for adding dry ingredients to the mixer in a minute. So now we're gonna take these 6 eggs and put them in the stand mixer that's fitted with a whisk attachment. Okay, so I have my 6 eggs in the mixer with the whisk attachment. I'm gonna turn this on to medium and beat it for 3 minutes until it's all foamy and light in color. So our eggs are now all bubbly and frothy and light yellow. And then we turn the mixer on low and we're gonna add the warm milk. Now that the milk is in there, I'm going to gradually add the flour mixture in spoonfuls at a time so it's all incorporated. After the batter has mixed on medium for 2 minutes, turn the mixer off and we just let the batter sit and rest for an hour. If you haven't heard of Neiman Marcus, I call it the Harrods of Dallas. And if you know what Harrods is, you'll have a vague idea what that's all about. Neiman Marcus is an amazing brand of retail department stores, and they also have cafes in their stores. And those cafes are famous for serving popovers with strawberry butter. Shortly before that hour of rest time is over, make sure you preheat your oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit and get your popover pan ready with either buttering the cups or putting cooking spray in them. Keep in mind that the popover pan is pretty tall and the popovers might rise a lot. If things go well, they're gonna get really puffy. So make sure that the rack is not too high in the oven so you have lots of clearance. Also, this recipe, when you make it in full, makes 12 popovers and the pans are just 6-cup pans. So you might want to buy 2 pans and put 2 in the oven at once, but I would not recommend that because you have to have a really big oven to be able to fit the 2 trays with enough clearance for these puffy popovers. So I would just do the batter in 2 separate batches or make just a half batch of the recipe. Okay, the batter has finished resting for an hour and now we're going to put it into the popover pans. This is the mixing bowl that the batter's been resting in. And then I'm going to pour the batter into this, I call it a batter pouring pitcher bowl thing. It's very useful and it has the best pouring spout of any of the stuff in my kitchen. So I want to use it for pouring the batter into this nice popover pan that's been prepared with the cooking spray. I'm just going to pour. I know it's a bit of a faff having to pour the batter into the pitcher from the mixing bowl, but pouring the batter into the cups is an important part of this process and I don't want to mess it up. And by the way, I have been to Neiman Marcus for lunch and had their popovers and they are quite delicious. Okay, so we're gonna pour the batter into these popover cups until they're about 3/4 full. Here are my 6 popover cups, and we're going to put this into a 425 degree Fahrenheit or 220 Celsius oven. So 425 for 15 minutes. When the timer rings, I will turn the temperature down to 375. After the 15 minutes at 425 is over, you switch the oven temperature to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, 190 Celsius, for another 30 minutes. Okay, so here's what the popovers look like today. Popovers look a little bit different every time. So I'm gonna take these out and then cook another pan of 6 and we'll see how those turn out. I actually think the second batch of popovers looked better. Not sure if it was the additional rest time for the batter, or maybe I filled the cups a bit fuller as I was trying to use up all the batter. Not sure, but I think they just look prettier. And here are the butter and spreads next to my Wedgwood china plates, ready to receive some popovers and Yorkshires to try. All right, so I've reheated some Yorkshire puddings from a couple days ago when I made them. I had kept them in the freezer, but as my friends at flawlessfood.co.uk say, you can freeze them and then just pop them in a 400 degree Fahrenheit oven for 8 minutes, straight from the freezer, and they will get all hot and crispy. Here I am putting some beef gravy on the Yorkies for us to taste. And that little beep is telling us the popovers are ready. Let's try the Yorkshire pudding first, since that's the savory thing.
That's tasty.
So the Yorkshire pudding
That's flavorful.
Yeah, it didn't puff up as much as I wanted it to because I didn't do a very good job just executing the recipe, but it still has that kind of eggy texture in it.
It tastes better than I thought it would. I don't know what I was expecting.
You had a negative attitude.
No. This is a first, though. I didn't even know what this was until you told me about it.
See, Tracy has never had, she's your average American who's never had a Yorkshire pudding before.
I'm a newbie.
She has had popovers before, though.
I have.
Did I buy you a popover pan?
Yeah.
One way that the popovers are different than the Yorkshires is the Yorkshire puddings you just put in the oven for 15 minutes, but at one temperature. Mm-hmm. And the popovers you have to cook for 45 minutes at 2 different temperatures.
So I do taste like an eggy, I taste that eggy flavor inside. So is it more eggy than a popover?
It does have more eggs than the popover.
Okay.
Yeah. And the popover also has baking powder in it.
It kind of reminds me of when you're eating a piece of French toast. Mm-hmm. And you have that eggy layer. Mm-hmm.
Or a Dutch baby.
Yeah, except gravy instead of syrup.
Exactly. Now you can make Yorkshire puddings sweet. I went to a Yorkshire pudding restaurant in London that served, I think we got like a flight of Yorkies. I think we had 6 different Yorkshire puddings, and some had sweet fillings with fruit and different sweet syrups and toppings, and then 3 had savory.
So how is it, I mean, is it usually savory or it just depends on where you are?
The usual thing is you eat a Yorkshire pudding
With gravy.
with a beef roast and vegetables and roast potatoes and gravy.
And then do you always pour the gravy on it? Is that kind of traditional to always pour the gravy on top of it?
So British people watching this video, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think British people put gravy on everything at dinner.
Really?
Yeah. So that was one thing I remember being a little shocked by the first time I saw a British person who had a plate of beef and peas and carrots and potatoes, all these things, and they just poured this river of beef gravy over everything. Like all the vegetables were swimming in gravy. And I was more like, gravy just goes on the meat and the mashed potatoes. So I'm like, wow, y'all like gravy. So in my Sunday roast dinner video, be sure to catch that. I show myself eating a Sunday roast, and the roast was vegan, but then I got beef gravy to put on it, just because beef gravy is delicious. Have you ever had lemon curd before?
No.
Okay. Well, I got raspberry curd.
I don't even, what is curd?
Orange
I don't
curd.
even know what that means.
Ooh, what is curd? That's a good
I mean,
question.
is it like, it looks kind of jelly jammy, but not quite. It looks
It
different. I don't know.
It's fruit and sugar and egg yolk and butter. Open up your popover,
Okay.
and then
Just stick my fingers in it, huh?
yeah, you're the only one eating it. It's all.
Oh my gosh. Look, all the bread came on one side.
Yeah, it's supposed to have big hollow caverns inside.
Well, this one does, for sure.
Yeah, it didn't turn out as big and hollow as I wanted.
So popovers are not a British thing? Why did
No.
I think they were a British thing? Because you're all things British, that's why.
That's why.
Okay, all right, so we're trying all these curds.
Well, you try whatever you
Is
want.
curd a British thing?
Yes.
All right.
Lemon curd is a British thing. And then this, oh, look at this. This is strawberry rhubarb, and look at these huge chunks of rhubarb.
All right, so here we go. This is rhubarb strawberry.
So, you remember having popovers before. I feel like these, because they don't have the dense bubble, I mean the big airy bubbly parts, I feel like this is more dense. There's more of that eggy layer like there was in the Yorkshire puddings that wasn't really supposed to be that dense.
Yeah, but it's still such a different taste. You know? This is...
The Yorkies are definitely eggier.
They definitely are. And plus, like, you know, when I pulled it apart, this side's really hollow, so it's just more of a crust with curd on it.
I haven't tried the curd yet. I'm gonna try this raspberry.
I love the rhubarb strawberry. That's delicious.
That raspberry curd is something.
Uh-oh. Is it special? All right, now I'm scared.
It just wasn't what I expected.
Okay. Well,
You know what? Part of it is it's not as sweet as I expected.
I like it. I like it a lot. It's different. It's kind of like, it's almost like raspberry pudding. Right? It's like a raspberry pudding. It has a really interesting, nice flavor.
The orange curd is good. I like it better. It's got a very light,
All right, let's try that.
tangy taste.
Delicious.
It's refreshing and delicious.
I actually like all 3 of those.
Okay, so let's talk about our shirts.
Yeah.
So these shirts came about because Tracy is my best friend, and she wanted to get me a Christmas present, even though she's not supposed to, because I'm a minimalist and I don't like getting gifts. But she was very adamant about getting me a special gift for Christmas.
I couldn't.
And so she got inside information from Ian, which was inaccurate as to what size t-shirt I should wear. So she made that t-shirt for Christmas, which ended up being too small for the large human known as Dara. So I went and got myself a matching Magenta Otter Travels t-shirt and gave her the petite Magenta Otter Travels t-shirt.
And aren't we the cutest in it? Oh my word.
Comment below and tell us how cute we are.
Yeah, that's right. Hashtag cute Magenta Otters.
British viewers of this video should be interested to know that Tracy's last name is British.
Yes.
Her last name is Glasgow. Now, even though that is her married name, so it's her husband who's Scottish, I consider Tracy an honorary Glaswegian.
I consider myself an honorary one as well.
Mostly because I love to say the word Glaswegian. I just think that's the coolest word. And Tracy and I have a big plan. We've been plotting this for how many years?
Many
Years. We've been plotting Tracy and her husband's 25th?
No,
20th. I'm making her. She's not old. She's not old like me. But next year, for their 20th wedding anniversary, they're going to Glasgow, Scotland. And that's going to be really fun. Although,
we haven't been to England yet.
Have you been to London?
No.
You've never been to the UK at all?
No. That's why I'm a little torn about this.
No,
I know we've talked about.
You're doing both.
I mean,
this is not negotiable.
Yeah, no,
You're flying into London. You'll do some stuff in London, but you have to go to Glasgow.
No, Brett and I both. We've never been to London. Like, I can't wait. It's been on my bucket list.
You better just find a good babysitter and take some time off work because you need to be there more than a week. It's going to be great. So, what do you think about popovers versus Yorkshire puddings?
Okay, so I like the Yorkshire pudding. I mean, if I were sitting down to a dinner meal, it would be a very lovely addition to the meal. It's satisfying, savory, very tasty, very delicious. But if I were just gonna choose something, because I tend towards more of a sweet tooth, I would choose a popover. Because my sweet tooth always wins.
With sweet stuff on top of it.
Yeah.
Because obviously you could put beef gravy on one of these popovers too.
And it wouldn't be the same.
Well, the interesting thing about the popovers is they don't have sugar in them. It is just eggs and flour and milk and baking powder. Very similar ingredients, just different ratios to the Yorkshire pudding.
Yeah. For me, the sweet thing always wins. What about you?
Yeah, I really like them both. It's just situational. It's just, do you want dessert or do you want it as a side dish to a meal? Oh, I forgot. Tracy just went and washed her hands and dried them and noticed that the tea towel I have on the counter is my Yorkshire recipes tea towel, and what she spied right there was the recipe for Yorkshire pudding. I wonder how similar it is to what I made. This is a really special occasion having Tracy come over today because even though she's my best friend and lives just a couple miles away, we have not hung out together in one of our houses in over a year because of the pandemic.
Yeah. We had a couple of outdoor,
yeah,
socially distanced things.
Her birthday was in December, and in December we sat out in her backyard. Thank goodness it was Texas, but it still was not entirely warm enough to do that, to celebrate her birthday. So we have not hung out, and I used to hang out at her house and she at mine with some frequency before that.
Yeah.
So she has been fully vaccinated for quite a while, and I've now just gotten to the point of being 2 weeks past my second vaccine. So I finally felt comfortable having someone come over to my house. And it's my first guest star on a video for my channel in my home, besides Weston.
Weston, I know.
He's a really good guest star. I miss Weston, but he's moved away. So thank you so much, Tracy,
You're welcome.
for coming and participating.
Hi, everyone. Magenta Otter Travel Tribe.
Be sure to check out the other videos in my Britain at Home series. In the same way that we compared Yorkshire puddings to American popovers today, I also compared American Southern buttermilk style biscuits with English scones. So make sure you check that out too, as well as my other favorite British recipes. And my travel videos where I actually eat all these delicious things in Britain. Thanks so much for watching, and do something good in the world today.